Hello, good morning everybody. Happy Tuesday wherever you are. I hope you had a lovely Monday night. I was in the house searching for spiders on Monday night. That was what I did yesterday. I did find the spider. It was a very large spider that's been looking at me all week. I managed to get rid of it. I felt much better. Because apparently I was looking at, how to get rid of spiders naturally, and it's peppermint oil that they don't like, or conkers. I didn't have any conkers, but I did have a packet of polos. So I just ate the polos last night and breathed them all around the room, hoping that was going to get rid of the spider. Let me know if there are other ways of getting rid of spiders. But we're here today, and I'm not on my own. I've got the lovely Jan with me. Hello, Jan. How are you?
Hello. It's nice to be back. Yeah, it's been a little while.
It has.
It's a couple of weeks since I was up here. But yeah, it's good to be back. Had a nice drive up this morning in the sunshine. Yeah. So the rain seems to have sort of disappeared for a little while. So
it's quite warm today, isn't it?
It is, compared to what it was like last week. Yes, it is. It's lovely outside. So a nice sort of cheery drive this morning. Yes, and I'm looking forward to today. We've got something a bit different today. Yep. So yeah, obviously we're on wake up call at the moment, but I've just got some samples of things that we've got coming up during the rest of the day. And I'm here at 2 p.m. this afternoon in the UK with a paper piecing masterclass, which is a really nice one. It's not one that we've done before. So what we've done is we've had a look at our products. We have some products that are specifically designed for paper piecing, and we've got other products that lend themselves to paper piecing. So we've popped them all together, and just to show you one or two samples of things that we've got coming up. The little paper piecing dies are lovely. They make just under a 6x4 panel, so you can incorporate these onto your cards. And I'm going to show you, if you haven't seen our hold and release sheets yet, they actually completely change the way that we do paper piecing. It used to be regarded as quite fiddly with all those little pieces, but with the new hold and release sheets that we've designed for the purpose of this, it just makes it so easy, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you. So those are the actual paper piecing dies. We've also brought on those beautiful 3-in-1 creator card dies, which lovely. Again, you can see there, not only are these a creator card, so you've got that background element plus a central element if you wish to use them together. And then also we've got the paper piecing going on in there as well. That one particularly lends itself. And you'll find once you, if you haven't tried the hold and release sheets yet, if you're able to get hold of some and try them, you'll find yourself wanting to do it. I was like this when I was prepping. I was wanting to do it on everything, honestly. And then again, that's another one of those 3-in-1 creator cards. So the idea of these, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is that you've got two pieces to the metal element. So you've got that beautiful frame around the outside, and then you've got your focal point, which can either be used together, they can be used separately. You can actually cut around the edge of the focal point and make it into a topper. And then this one, I must admit, is a favourite of mine. We've got the little swash dies coming up later on launch party, and these have been really good fun to play with. Again, just a 6-inch across them, so they fit nicely within a card point. You can trim them down, but again, they've got those areas. You see paper piecing everywhere now. They've got those areas that you can paper piece, not just using them once, double them up and use them twice. So we've actually popped them across both corners with that one with the dragonfly. And then we've also got on those beautiful frame dies, fancy frames there. So these were designed with the idea of sort of framing a photograph. But again, we're going to show you other ways of using them as well. But they're designed to go on a 5x7, and the interior panel in here fits a lovely 4x6 photo, which is a standard size here in the UK for photographs. So that one's using a photo, but again, you don't have to use it with a photo. This one's just got a nice little stamped panel inside there, and using the frame just to highlight that. So yeah, we've got lots going on today. Lovely. It's a really nice day. I'm looking forward to having a play.
Oh, I'm really excited because I haven't seen the hold and release sheets actually being used in the studio, so I'm really looking forward to it.
It's just completely revolutionised the way that we do it, because traditionally, you cut your die again, and it was a case of, there was all sorts of different ways, sort of spraying it with a bit of water in the hope that all the pieces stayed in the die, and you could guarantee that one bit would escape, and then you got to work out, as a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, where does everything fit? Honestly, when you see this in action, if you haven't seen them yet, it just totally takes away all that. It just makes it so simple and much quicker. In the past, I found myself spending quite a lot of time laboriously finding each little piece and popping it where it needed to go. But this is just so simple. Honestly, if you haven't seen it as yet, it just changes the whole game.
Fantastic.
It really does.
Really looking forward to that. Brilliant. Lots of people messaging in. Michelle Knits for You says, oh, such fun spider hunting. Yeah, it wasn't fun. I didn't like it. And Michelle says, good morning. Lots of people saying good morning. So it's lovely to see you all. But the day is all about the paper piecing. We're going to be showing you paper piecing first of all, and we're going to be doing that in the masterclass later on today. So we have this 4 set of dies that you've got over there. So you've got different dies for different kinds of sort of floral elements. Now, the price for this, you're actually getting 35% off at the moment, so it's the best ever price. £25 or $38. Your platinum price is £20 or $30.40. So have a little bit of a closer look at these. You can see these on the boards that I've got in front of me. You've got really beautiful, they're very sort of intricate kind of dies that you can see here, but I can totally see how you're actually going to become a little bit obsessed with paper piecing because it is such a beautiful effect that you get at the end of it. So this first one is your trailing florals that you've got here. Really pretty design, and it looks, you know, it's very simple design, but actually these pieces are quite big for you to sort of paper piece. It makes it a little bit easier for you. Then you've got happy bees. Everyone loves a bee. That's a really pretty design there. Then we've got radiant roses, one that you could use for so many different occasions, and then finally butterflies and blooms as well. So the collection of 4 dies in here, you're going to, four dies, but each one has got 2 elements. So you've got that outer die as well as that main die there. £25 or $38. And you're going to start with a demonstration on this right now, aren't you?
I am, yes. We sort of brought those up first just as a little taster of what's coming up later on, if you can join us this afternoon. So I've just pulled out a few more samples just to show you some of those images. But whether you want to actually, you know, this one's actually had pieces put back in that have been coloured with the inks and things like that, you know, so it doesn't have to be. But they're great for sort of scrap busting. If you've got lots of little boxes of paper scraps, they're really nice and sort of nice areas that you can use your scraps up with, and I'll show you that in a little while. So that's the one with the butterflies there. And then again, we've got, I love the one with the little honeybees on. So this one's actually been done on a gift bag, you know, so they can be translated into all your crafts. They're just a nice little panel, just under, as I say, 6 by 4 inches, and it just makes a nice focal point there. And you can see we've teamed that with some of the paper from the Be Beautiful collection, which is a perfect backdrop for those little bees with the honeycomb on there. So again, sort of using it into that. And then you can also bring it into your gift boxes as well. So it's a nice size to just pop. But those roses, aren't they gorgeous?
Really beautiful.
Again, just pieced with that, so die cut in the black and then just pieced with that beautiful red card just to give you the top. They would make great panels for the shaker designs. If you pop acetate behind them, layered them up and pop shaker pieces in, they would be lovely. So we're going to start out today with those, and I'm going to show you those hold and release sheets that I was talking about as well. So pop those to one side. I'm going to bring in the radiant roses for that first demo, and they measure 5 1/4 by 3 1/4. So like I said, they're just, you can mat and layer them to make like a 6 by 4 inch panel, and then that will work with other elements as well. So in your die set, you're going to get the 2 pieces of metal, and again, this allows you that option to cut in or cut out. So if you're wanting to cut into your card, the main part of the die here doesn't have an external cutting edge, so all this detail would cut in. So if you wanted to, for example, cut into the top of a box lid and have a see-through element in the lid, it would actually work without the outer piece. But the frame that goes around the edge of it has just been designed to give you a nice frame, and this will cut out your panel that equates to the measurements on the package in there, which was that 5 1/4 by 3 1/4. So we're going to use this one to start off, and we're just going to die cut this one first, and then I'm going to bring in that hold and release sheet and show you how that works. So in fact, that will probably work on my just get my smaller plates on there. So all I'm going to do is pop those over. I've just got a piece of smooth white cardstock, our all-purpose cardstock. And again, all we need to do is just make sure that these two pieces are not touching. If you're cutting both your dies together, there should be room all the way around the edge of it where the two dies don't actually touch. So just get those lined up, and once you're happy with that, get them stuck in place. And then I'm just going to sandwich those between my normal plates there for the Gemini. So just a normal thin metal die plate combination, and then, oh, that one looks as if it's been well loved, doesn't it? Somebody's been playing nicely with that one. Pop it through the Gemini. So these are small enough to go right the way down to your MIDI, if that's what you use, or the Gemini Junior. And take that one out, and you can see now we've got that lovely die cut piece there ready to work with. So just pop that to one side. Take the elements away, take that piece away. You've got a certain piece in the middle that comes out as waste. And then again, just very, very gently, because you've got some of those decorative pieces, I like to just take mine away from the back of the metalwork there. And you've got that beautiful little frame there then to work with. So I've just got a couple of bits there that want releasing.
Just like that, it looks beautiful without even doing
it. It is, you know, that might be all
it?
you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like making your sort of ink backgrounds and things like that, it may be that you've got a lovely ink background that you just want to cut that frame out of and just literally have it as the frame itself. And like Becky says, that looks really, really pretty. Maybe cut it out of some glitter card or something like that. That might be as far as you want to take it. But what I'm actually going to do, just for the purpose of the demonstration, is because we're going to paper piece, we need something to stick to. So best thing ever on TV, I've got a piece of acetate there that I'm just going to stick it down on, which will give me a backdrop to work on, because obviously there's nothing underneath here at the minute for us to re-stick our pieces back into. So you do need something behind it. On the panel that I've actually used to make my card with, I've used vellum behind mine, but just so that I can show you how these sheets work, I'm literally going to pop it onto a piece of acetate there. And I'm going to use my dotty tape pen. Comes in handy for all those beautiful die cuts. And I'm just going to run this across the back of that die cut panel. Again, just taking care where all that lovely filigree work is, that we're not going to damage it. And I just want a few dots in areas that's going to hold it down on the acetate. So again, I'm going in the direction that it's been die cut there. Just making sure that we've got a little bit of glue on all those panels, and then I'm just going to pop this on to the acetate and cut round it. So you can either do it this way, or you can actually pop your acetate, cut it down to size to start with. I usually do it this way and then just use my scissors against the edge of the die there. But if you wanted to cut it down, you could cut the piece of acetate or whatever it is. You know, it might be a piece of pattern paper that you're working onto. On the show this afternoon, I've tried to show you some different ways of working with these. So what I'm going to do now is just grab another piece of card so that that's not interfering with the grid on the mat there. So all I've done literally is just pop that behind it so that I've got a surface to work onto. This could be anything underneath, as long as you've got something to work on. So it could be a piece of pattern paper, like I said, a piece of vellum, could be a piece of card that you've inked, anything like that, so that you've got something to work against.
Okay.
And then the hold and release sheets come, they're just slightly larger than A5, I believe, and they do fit perfectly on that Gemini Junior plate there. You can see they're just about, now this measures 6 by 9, so you can get a sense of the size there. And it's like, it feels like cardstock, but it's a wee bit thicker than card, and it's got a cover sheet on the front of it. And when we take this cover sheet off here, it's actually tacky. It's not sticky. It's not like a double-sided adhesive. It's not meant to stick anything down. It is just meant to be tacky.
A little bit like a post-it note, that kind of stickiness?
Yes, that's probably a good way of thinking about it actually, yeah, because what we want it to do is we want it to hold the card in place while we're die cutting, but we don't want it to stick to this because we want to be able to peel it off and actually pop it into our design. So what I've got then is I've got a piece of, because I'm working in lilac for my design that I'm going to work with, I'm just going to pop this onto here, and I tend to sort of just decide how much I need there rather than using the whole sheet. Now it is designed as a one-use product, this. So once I've used this bit, you'll see why when you see how it works, that it's not really something that you could reuse. So what I'm going to do, I've got the tacky side, and I'm just going to put my cardstock over the top here. And the piece of cardstock is a little bit longer. Not too worried about that because I can use this bit then to actually reveal the pieces. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this die again. I just need to get those pieces out of there, and we're going to re-die cut this in the machine. Now I'm going to change the plate formation purely because I don't want to cut through the release sheet. I just want to cut through the cardstock that I'm going to use for the paper piecing. So again, I just need to make sure that I've got all those little pieces out of my die there. And then we're going to run this through the machine again. So just give us a second, Becky, while I
yeah, no problem.
Pop all those pieces out.
Now, in case anyone else is scared of spiders like I am, Jane says, Becky, I use a spray bottle and add a few drops of lemon juice and 10 drops of peppermint oil and half fill with warm water and spray around the edges of the home. It keeps away beasties and smells nice. That's a good alternative because I am quite frightened of spiders. And there was something that's just floating around my face just a minute ago, and I thought, oh no, it's another spider.
Oh no.
It wasn't. It was just a bit of fluff.
We actually use the conkers, and they do work. Yeah. So all around sort of the external walls where we've got them behind the TV because our aerial comes in through the outside wall. So we've got them behind the TV, and that does work as well. If you can get hold of them during the autumn, that definitely does the trick.
For another few weeks before they start, I always remember it's when the children start back at school, a couple of weeks in, they start collecting conkers, don't they?
Yep.
Although I don't know if they're allowed to anymore.
So all I've done is I've got my release sheet underneath, I've got the cardstock tack to it, and then I'm just going to put the die over the top, just as if you were going to die cut through it. But because we don't want that pressure in the Gemini to cut into the release sheet, I'm going to remove one of my shims, and I'm going to take the magnetic shim out. So what this means is that we've still got the same pressure in the machine, but because this combination's not quite as thick, it's going to apply enough pressure to cut the surface card layer, but it's not sufficient pressure to cut all the way through the release sheet that we're holding it on. So what's happened now is when we take this away, if I take my die off here now, you can see it's cut that beautifully. We've got the design in there.
Yep.
But when I turn it over, we've not got that. If I'd have done this as a die cut, you'd be able to see all the patterning on the back here. So then, because you've got that little bit left over, what we're going to do is just very carefully, and this is where the release part comes in, I'm going to take effectively what is this part, the actual design, away from the release sheet, and I'm just making sure while I'm doing that all those little pieces stay behind. Can you see here?
Okay.
So again, just releasing the actual design, and I don't need that part for what I'm doing today. So it's just making sure that it keeps, and if for any reason they do want to sort of come up with just pop them back down with your pokey tool, because these are the pieces that we want to work with. And again, just take it back. So you've got your hold element, and then this is your release. You can see there. And then the same on this corner, we need to get rid of that one at that side and just come this way. So all the pieces that we now need to work with are actually gone from my sheet. And if I bring this back onto the white so that you can see. We can literally see now. I want to do the roses in the lilac. So all I need now is something to adhere these, and I'm just going to take my tacky glue. So this is actually my PVA, my water-based glue, which is this one. And it's just decanted into that little applicator. You've got a really fine nozzle on here, which for what I'm actually doing now is great, because we've got some tiny areas there that we just need to apply a little bit of glue. So in the rose petals here, and you don't need a lot. We've talked about glue in previous sessions where less is more with the glue, and just do a few at a time. And then literally we're just going to take one of the pieces up here, and your tweezers become your friend in this one, and literally take one from there and pop it in there. And then we're going to take the next one, lift it and pop it in its counterpart, and just it is actually becomes a pleasure to do. It's quite rewarding, whereas in the past I always found paper piecing very stressful, because I'd just get all this far and then I'd get right to the end and think, oh no, there's a piece missing, and then you spend half an hour rummaging through the bin trying to find a piece of scrap that's this shape, and it just didn't happen. It didn't work at all. So then you thought, oh, I've got to cut another one just for one piece, or it ended up so frustrated that it ended up in the bin. But you can see how easy this actually is now. Just pop in all those little pieces, and then I usually do about half a dozen at a time, because you don't want the glue to start drying before you get to that area. And because this is a dry as clear glue, once we've got all those pieces in place, once it's dried, if you are using an acetate on there, it will dry clear on the back of it anyway. So if you're going to pop it in something that's see-through, it won't show. So again, you can just see. And I'm just going to do a little bit, and then I'm going to flick over to the one that I've started for our design and make it into a finished card for you. But just, you can see how quick this actually is.
It's, like you say, very therapeutic. It's almost like doing a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
Yes, very much so, yeah. But now you've got all your pieces in one place, rather than having to worry about, you know, when you've got them, when I've literally just popped them, you know, I've got all these bits here that I've just popped out of the die, trying to work out which one of these and where it's going to go back in. Honestly, it used
I don't know how you could ever do that.
Quite laborious, and to be honest, it put me off. I was never a lover of paper piecing. I used to avoid it at all costs for that reason, but now this is just a game changer. It really is. So we've got the hold and release sheets on the show for you, and literally, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I've got one that I've started that's got the vellum in the background. But again, we're going to do the different colourway for the leaves. So if I bring in the one that I've started at home, you can see how I've pretty much sort of got on with that. So I've used some vellum behind here. And then I've done this side already. And then I've just got my little pieces left over here. Okay, just to finish off. So let's move that one to one side for a second, and we'll just finish this one off ready for the actual demo. But yeah, it will stick down onto the vellum with the same glue. So I'm just using that tacky glue again just to hold them in place. And you can see we've got those pieces at the ready to lift from that sheet and pop back into that pattern there. And honestly, I can't explain how simple and how rewarding it actually is now, because they're there in front of you. You know, you can have it right next to where you're working and literally just lift it off one and pop it into the next one. So that's our rose finished.
I've got a question.
Yes.
And Regina says, Zoe says, how would you use the hold and release sheets with a MIDI?
Let me think now then. I would need to check that for you, because obviously to put them in the plastic folder that comes with the MIDI may be too much pressure.
Yeah.
So it may be that, for example, the purple shim that comes with the MIDI and possibly a piece of cardstock or something like that, it might just need a little bit of experimentation to get the right pressure. I mean, it's not the end of the day if it cuts through the back of here. It just makes it harder in that the release sheet's going to come up as well as the cardstock on the front. But yeah, if you have got a Gemini MIDI, the purple folder that comes with it which I've not got to hand just at the second, would give you part of that depth that you need. It may be that you just need a piece of cardstock or a couple of layers of cardstock over the top for the right pressure. So there may be a little bit of trial and error until you get that bit right. I would just practice on a, a little scrap of this rather than using, a whole piece, and just sort of test it and see how much pressure it actually needs to cut into the cardstock layer, but not the actual layer underneath. Okay. Yeah. So all I'm going to do then, I've just got 4 little pieces to finish the leaf, and all I did, as I say, I've gone through my, I keep a lot of my textured cardstock in a scrap box, and I've just literally gone through there, had a look at a couple of colours that I wanted, and I've just cut pieces. I didn't cut the whole design like I did here. I actually cut pieces that I put behind the relative area, so you can see there that bit went behind. So again, just being a bit frugal with my hold and release sheet, so that you're not wasting the whole sheet. And then I did the same at this side, and then I did the same with the leaf area, so that I've just got slightly smaller pieces that I didn't use too much, so that it lasts a wee bit longer. But very, very good value as well on that. So again, just those last couple of pieces in there, and that's my design finished for this particular one. And then we're just going to use this as the front panel on a little card there, just to keep it nice and simple for that first demo this morning. So you can see there, it just looks so pretty, it really does. And I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but potentially paper piecing with something like felt is something that I want to try as well. So maybe cutting your panel twice and sticking it together to build it up a little bit, so that this depth is slightly thicker. And then possibly looking at cutting something like felt, which should stick to your release sheet, and again then dropping that into that little well that you've created with the die cut. So all I'm going to do is a fairly straightforward, I've just got a nice little 5x7 top fold card there, done a little bit of matting and layering, so I'm going to swap to my ordinary double-sided tape pen there, just for sticking these together. I like to save the dots for my die cut pieces. And we're just going to mat and layer straight onto the card base there. And then I've got a little bit of silver mirror card behind it. The paper is from one of our newer paper pads. I think it's from I want to say A Winter's Tale.
Right, okay.
Something, either that one or the one that was launched with it, which was... the name's evading me just for a second. There was A Winter's Tale. Thank you, Charlotte. The Winter Solstice one. Well done there. That was, do you know, I love having a little voice in my ear. I just wish I could carry them around with me all the time. When I'm in the supermarket and I forgot what I've gone for, I need a Charlotte that says, Jan, you've come to buy some milk. There we go, you see.
You could always call her.
So again, I've just taken that same mirror card, and we're just going to pop that one in the centre there to create a little border. And then this one is going to go, oh, I've even got some tape on here, look. I start prepping and I start off being really organised, and then by the time I got to the end of all the prep kits, it was like, right, I just need to get this one done, get this last one done. So I'm going to pop that one on, just make sure we've got the opening at the bottom there. We're going to pop that one so that we've got a nice little silver border in the middle. And again, take those pieces of tape out. This is just our finger lift double-sided tape there. And then all I've done is just stamp a nice little sentiment, which I didn't really want to put in the middle because I don't want to cover up the design. So I was playing around with whereabouts this went.
Yeah. And
I think I decided there was less sort of to cover up in this corner here, because this one's got the little flower bud in. There's some at the, although it doesn't look bad down there, does it? What do we think, guys? In the bottom corner there? Or in the top?
I think the top corner. Otherwise, you're covering up your paper.
The little buds again at the bottom. Shall we just go for that top corner there? So all I'm going to do is just pop a little piece of tape on the back of there, just to hold it in place. And I just happen to have got my red line tape there. And we'll just pop a bit in the centre. I've just added, you know me and my pearls, I've got a couple of little silver pearls on there just to pick out the silver mirror card. And again, we'll pop that one on there. So keeping it fairly simple. I wanted that paper piecing to sort of be the star of the show on this one, and you can just see how using those sheets, I hope that I've been able to demonstrate there the difference and the time it took, or how little time it took. I know I'd got some of this one started, but you saw me working on that panel that we'd got here, you know, that started to come together quite quickly. Yeah. So yeah, definitely a game changer in the world of paper piecing.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, really lovely. Lots of people messaging in. Shadai says, and agree, the release sheets are the best invented ever. You makes you enjoy paper piecing even more. Lots of people loving the tips you're giving as well. Those release sheets are available on the website. You just need to have a quick look, but definitely worth popping it in your basket if you're keen to get these dies. Now, these dies are a section of 4 different dies, but they've actually, each one's got 2, so it's actually 8. So you've got that outer die to cut around the edge, make it almost like a frame, and then you've got the inner die with all of those beautiful elements in there for your paper piecing. The first one is your trading florals, then you've got your happy bees, radiant roses, which is one we've just seen, and then finally butterflies and blooms. Price for this is £25 or $38. It's a 35% saving on today, so it's definitely worth popping in your basket and taking advantage. We also have this craft kit, which is your paper piecing craft kit. 40% saving on this. So you've got all of those, wow, platinum price £12. That's crazy. I might have to have one of these. This has got all the bits and pieces you need to make these projects. So you've got the papers, you've got the cardstock, you've got the envelopes, you've got the card blanks, you've got the dies, you've got stamps, and you've also got embellishments in there. So these are absolutely brilliant. These boxes are everything you possibly need to make all the items. Great as a gift, great as an item for somebody that's just beginning crafting, or for anybody that's keen on trying a different type of project. Price is £15, $15, but your platinum price is £12, $12. Definitely worth having today. The other thing we have on the show are these beautiful 3-in-1 creator card dies. These are absolutely gorgeous. I think this one with the peacock in it is just stunning, absolutely stunning. You can see the effects you're getting on those. So this one is your floral peacock. Your next one is your butterfly garden. Again, very, very pretty. And you can see here, you've got the everything around the butterflies as they've been cut, but not fully, so you can actually sort of lift them out and get that kind of proper 3D effect. Then you've got daisies and dragonflies on this one, a celebration cake, and this one here. Celebration cake? Oh, yeah, no, elegant fairy. Put 2 together. I was thinking, I don't know, but I mean, as far as I'm aware, cakes don't look like that. This is elegant fairy. This is celebration cake. Don't put the boards stuck together. And then finally, you've got the balloon bouquet here. £60 or $70. Your platinum price is £48.56. And we're going to see these with you now. We're going to do a demonstration.
Yes, we are. And these, honestly, these are stunning. They really are. They're a good size die. So you're looking at a 5 by 7 inch piece of metalwork there. So that price is, you know, is phenomenal when you think how much, because it's the metal that costs the money. But if I take that out onto here, you can see that we've got that die there. I've cut my piece of cardstock slightly bigger to work on when we do the die cutting. But these come, they're called a 3-in-1, and if I bring this alongside it, if I take out the central part here, in fact, I'll take both of the pieces out of the way there. You can see we've got that beautiful frame element that when cut is going to give you sort of option 1 here. So you may just want to create something that's got a really pretty border around the outside. So you can see here where that's been die cut. It's got them gorgeous little toadstools, done a bit of paper piecing at the bottom there. This has just been inked, and then you can see how it's got that lovely sort of cutaway element. And then we've just done some layering dies and then a sentiment in the centre of it. So that's sort of option 1, remembering it was a 3-in-1. Option 2, you've got your centre part here. So we've got the little fairy herself. Now this doesn't have an external cutting edge. It's designed to work with the masterpiece here. But there's no reason why you couldn't cut this into the centre of your piece of card, and you've got option 2 going on here. And they're not that difficult. If you wanted to actually fussy cut around the edge and free her from the card, you've actually got a fairy or a birthday cake or a bouquet of balloons, whichever one you're using, that you can use as an individual topper. So that's option 1 and option 2. But then when we actually bring all this together, you can see that this has been designed so that she fits right in the centre, and that's what we're going to do with her this morning. We're going to cut both pieces together to give you option 3, which is where your 3-in-1 comes from. So I think the fact that we're bringing you one set of die there, which has got the 2 pieces in, with the other selections, the other imagery on, but the fact that you can get 3 different designs out of one of them. How many are there in total? There are 4, Becky, altogether.
No, there's more than that.
There more than 4?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
6 of them. So that's like 18 different combinations. And I just think that's phenomenal, the way that that's actually been produced there. So let's have a look at what we mean by that. So I'm just going to flip these over. And I bring one of my plates in. And I'm just going to pop this onto the larger one, with it being a wee bit larger panel. And as I say, I've cut my piece of card that I'm going to work with slightly bigger, just so that I've got somewhere to stick it down, because I want to make sure it's not going to move. So I'm just going to take my tape all the way across there, and then we're going to lay the fairy inside. Now you can cut all this in one go, all right? It's designed that there is about a 1/16 of an inch border, which goes all the way round here. I can get my pokey tool all the way around the external part of the fairy. So I'm going to cut these together, and I've said this often, if you're not confident with that, cut your border first, and what will happen is that you'll end up with this blank space in between. There's no cutting edge on the inside of the main die, so you'll end up with that blank space in the middle, which you can then pass through a second time with this one taped into place. So don't think, oh, I don't like putting them both through together. You know, if that worries you slightly, you can do them on 2 separate passes through the machine, but as long as they're not touching each other. And the way I'm going to do that is just make sure you're looking right over the top, get it in place, and then literally I'm going to pop a couple of pieces of tape over the top of the metal to hold that fairy in place on the top there. Now nothing should move. Just got it at a slight angle as well. If you can see the edge of my plates here, just tip it at a slight angle. It is a big die, this one, and if you've got it at an angle, your rollers are going to come along and they're going to hit the corner piece first, and then travel across and come off the last corner. It sort of prevents that clunking when the roller comes on and comes off at the other end, and it's just something that I've got into the habit of doing, if your size of cardstock will allow it, when you've got it on your cutting plates there. So thin metal dies, normal plate combination, and we're going to pass that through our Gemini. So these will just fit on your Gemini Junior plates, and in the midi again. They were pretty much almost edge to edge on there.
We've had a question come in from Kathy. Why is it when I'm cutting a detailed die using glitter card that it never really cuts through? If I take the paper from the die, the glitter coat peels from the paper.
Try with your, if I'm cutting glitter card, who was that, sorry?
That's Kathy.
Kathy, if I'm cutting glitter card, Kathy, I always put my metal shim in there. So if I just grab the metal work, this one's just actually the slightly smaller one, but for example, if this was glitter card that I was cutting, I would actually put my metal shim first, and I would work onto that metal. And I find with the glitter card, because it's a coated cardstock, you've effectively got more than one layer of card. Even though the glitter coating's very, very fine, you've got more than one layer, and it behaves almost like perforated paper. Sometimes you just need to break that connection with where the glitter is. It's almost like snapping it away from, whereas these just peel out nicely if you've used ordinary cardstock. The glitter, sometimes it's a case of snapping the edge of the connection around where the die is. But yeah, try, if you haven't done already, try working onto your metal shim, and that will make a vast difference. Now again, if you're using the midi, I know that is a slightly different system, so you don't have the beauty of the metal shim in there. So it may be that you just add another sheet of thin cardstock in there with your design, just to sort of give it a bit more bite when it goes through the machine. Obviously not too much in your MIDI. I wouldn't want you to sort of create too much depth that it's going to damage the folder. But yeah, definitely that's where that's what the metal shim was designed for, because you're actually pressing metal through the cardstock against metal. It just gives it that biting point. It's like using the metal to metal on scissors, or when you're using a guillotine. So give that a go if you haven't tried it already, and I think you'll find it will make a difference for you there.
Brilliant, thank you for that.
So on this one, let's have a little look. Oh, do you know, Adam?
Perfect.
Satisfaction every time I do that. I just think, every time without fail, just look at that. And that's just one pass through the machine there. So let's just move those plates out of the way. And again, we're going to take the tape away. Now, there are areas in here that can be embossed as well. So before I actually take it out of my die, I'm going to pass it back through the machine. And I'll talk about, when we take the die off, I'll talk about the areas that you're looking for when we're embossing. So again, I've got my sort of rubber silicone mat here, and I've just put all my plates away like I finished with them. But basically what we're actually going to do is pop that one back down, and I'm just going to pop this right the way over the cut side. And a lot of people think, oh, it's going to cut into my mat. But again, the very, very top tip and the most important thing is, if you're using the silicone mat, the magnetic shim comes out. So it's about adjusting, a little bit like we did with that release paper. We're not wanting to cut a second time, so we don't need that big thickness of plates. We just want it to work on that lovely silicone mat there, which is going to push the pieces back through the die. So I'm just going to pass that through once more. And what you'll find is that there are areas in the die, and I'll show you what I mean by that when I take it off the cardstock. There are actually openings in the die, the designs in the die that don't have a cutting edge around them, but because there's an opening, if it's part of your design, the silicone mat's going to push that design through your cardstock. Now I can just see on the back of here, I'm just going to see if we can get this. I'm going to get our Charlotte to just come and have a look and see if you can see on the back of here where it's actually done the detail work. So I've got all the way around the edges, I've got some little leaf elements here. You can just see that. That's fabulous, thanks Charlotte. Just here, this is the reverse of it, but I'm just showing you where all those pieces are that's got the embossed element on it. So when we take this out now, thanks Charlotte, again I'm just going to release this really gently from the back so that we've got all that detail there and none of it gets damaged. Literally just tease it out all the way around. And when we turn it over now, again, you can see that beautiful work there and that gorgeous sort of embossing again. Where's my other piece of card? Let's pop it on there for you. You'll be able to see a bit better there. So again, all around, there's elements of her skirt here. There's all the little swirly elements around the stems and everything. There's some leaf elements, but it is worth that second pass through the machine just to have a look at that. And the way that we work that out is when you look at the die here, when you look on the reverse of the die, I can see all these gorgeous little swirls all around where the leaves, there's some grass pieces at the bottom. They're all gaps in my die, so that tells me straight away that they're part of the design. But whereas these have got a cutting edge round and we've cut the cardstock out, you can still see the cream card in there. These don't have anything in them. And that's the bit where the silicone mat comes in, and all it does is literally push the card into the gap, and that's what makes that raised embossed area on the other side. So it's worth checking, because most of your metal dies are a die, an embossing, and you can actually stencil through them with your inks as well. So those embossed areas now, if you left the die in place, because those are open, you could actually then take your ink daubers or your ink applicators and push some ink through there as well. In fact, shall we do that? Shall we do that and show you? Let me just see what I've got. I've got some little ink daubers there, and I imagine there's probably enough ink left on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip that one over. And all I've done with this one is cut it. Like I said, I've made it slightly bigger. I've just cut this down to a 5x7 panel, and I've popped a tiny little bit of ink around the edge of it. But what we will do is just hold that die in place there, and you can feel where it clicks back into place. Because these areas are slightly raised, it sort of just clicks into place. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of colour, and I'm not even going to ink them up. I know the daubers have probably got residue ink on from something else. So again, it doesn't need a lot, but you can use that sort of die as a stencil there as well. So just around the those little swirls and things, we'll just see if the pink one's got a little bit of, yeah, just that residue ink there. And all I'm doing is just pushing it gently through where those swirls are, and that's the bit that I know has actually caught the embossing when we've done it with the embossing mat. So again, just nice and gently pop it through. And again, I wanted this to be sort of quite fairy tale like, with it being the little fairy there. But when we take that off now, you can just see how it's transferred elements to that design.
Yes.
And it's just another little finishing touch for it. And then I was having a look through my my stash at home, and I've got this gorgeous sort of, it's almost like as if you've inked a background, but it's actually cardstock. I believe it's actually an old hunky-dory one. I've had it in my stash for ages, but I just thought that behind there is going to create a really nice backdrop. So you've got sort of the pink in the sky coming through to the yellowy colours and into that turquoise at the bottom. Now, I didn't do any paper piecing on this one, but like the one I showed you earlier, this is the same die. You can see where we've just paper pieced elements back in the bottom to create that little focal point at the bottom. So again, using your hold and release sheet would work exactly the same. So all I'm going to do is actually stick these two together now. So again, out comes that dotty tape pen. Every time I'm working on something that is die cut, it's going to be that dotty tape pen. And I'm just going to add this to the back, nice and gently. And I'm going to pop it right over all the die cut pieces as well, because I want this to be stuck down totally in this instance. So wherever you've got a little bit, and I always sort of work with in the way that it's die cut. So for example, this little piece here is sort of like free from the rest of it. If I'd have gone this way, it would have dragged that piece. So again, just think about where you're putting those little dots. And then all we're going to do is pop that, and I wanted the green at the bottom, and I've just cut it slightly bigger so that there is a border all the way around. And then once it's in place, I tend to go, again, to try not to snag the die, just pop it, some pressure on the back to hold it down there. And then I've gone with craft card as a background for that one now to pop it on. But just before I do that, I want to pop a little piece of ribbon across that top corner there. So again, I'm just going to wrap that round and pop a little bit of, where do we want that? That one's going to go there. So I want a little bit of glue around there. And then I'm just going to go across the corner. And I know it's covered up a little bit of the design, but I can live with that. So that's going to go on first. And then we're going to pop that one down. So again, constantly splitting between the dotty tape pen and the solid one, depending on what you're wanting it to do. And again, we're going to pop that one onto the craft card. And I've kept this one fairly simple for Wake Up Call, just to show you the concept behind the actual die. This is how it was designed. If you can join us later at 2 o'clock here in the UK for the masterclass, I'm actually going to use the balloon bouquet, and we're going to incorporate the paper piecing into it as well, because these work lovely. You can see all those elements there that are potentially, you know, all the little flower heads you could go with paper piecing. If you're not into paper piecing, just your pens out and actually colouring in some of the gaps would be nice as well. And then last thing there, I've just got a little sentiment just for you. Just picked out some little pearls that match my paper there, and we're just going to put that one on the side there just to hold that in place.
Liz says it's more like a masterclass, this show, and it's very informative. Lots of people saying how lovely that is. It's beautiful.
Just nice and simple. Let the die do the work. When you know, when you're buying into this kind of product, you know, they're sort of part of the creator card range, and that's the whole idea behind them, is that the metal work there has been designed to do the job for you. Now, there's no reason why you couldn't recut the fairy in another colour and actually overlay that over the top. As I say, she'd be fairly easy to just snip around the outside of it and make it into a topper, and then you could actually overlay that over the top if you wanted to create that in another colour. Again, you know, that paper piecing element in there, colouring, pop it onto acetate, maybe push glitter through it would be nice as well. Again, lend themselves to having shaker elements behind them. So useful to have in your stash again there.
Yep. Jane Quigley says, oh, Jan, it's beautiful. Gilding wax or ink comes to mind with these beautiful dies.
Yes, absolutely. Your gilding wax, again, where those raised areas have gone through the machine to emboss them, that would pick out those areas as well, yeah. Beautifully.
So these are our 3-in-1 creator card die collection. So this first one, this is the Elegant Fairy, which you've just seen Jan use just now. So you can see now how that's going to actually work. So you've got a great deal of metalwork in here, creating those beautiful images. The next one is your floral peacock, which is absolutely lovely. I used to work with peacocks in my old job. Well, not, you know, not on a day-to-day, but they were wandering around in the same place that I was. Very exciting. Yeah, I wasn't a peacock wrangler, no. Do you get a peacock wrangler? Who knows? Butterfly Garden is this next one here. Very, very pretty too. Then we've got daisies and dragonflies here. We've got Celebration Cake. We all love the cake. And then finally, we've got the balloon bouquet, which we're going to be seeing later on today. So the price for all of these is £60 or $70. Your platinum price is £48 or $56. And we're going to take a little bit of a break. And so check out your baskets and we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to Club Inspire, the crafters' companion community where you can feed your crafty obsession. Join our fantastic loyalty club today and receive 20% off your first order. We'll also give you 250 points to help get you started. Other benefits of joining Club Inspire include exclusive special offers and discounts for Club Inspire members only, exclusive sneak peek previews of brand new product launches, and of course the Club Inspire community group on Facebook, where you can access exclusive content such as downloads, offers and inspiration, and of course you can chat and share your makes with other members. You'll receive 1 point for every £1, dollar or euro you spend, and the more points you receive, the more benefits you'll unlock. So what are you waiting for? Sign up, join the club and start rewarding yourself today.
What makes Crafters TV so special is you guys.
It's really special because the experts are really experts. They're really skilled at what they do, and they want to make sure that the audience also improves on their skills.
Crafters TV is so special because you've got together a really sort of key group of people and people that are very passionate about the product.
Crafters TV is so special because it's a unique community that we have with each other, where we can learn and grow and communicate with each other.
Community, the family spirit, the education, everything to do with craft. We are all like-minded people who share a passion.
I love all the inspiration the demonstrators bring and all the knowledge for us out here.
What makes Crafters TV so special? 100% it's the interaction. No other crafting TV channel or show has the same interaction.
I love the community, I love chatting live, I think that's the best part. And it's gone beyond crafting because we've become friends.
It feels to me to be a really, really close relationship with our customers and viewers.
You guys make us feel like we're part of your family. I've never been on the show before, but one of my friends who I did meet from CCTV encouraged me, and I was on the craft along.
A massive team of people, and I think they've all got their role to play, and it just brings everything together. It allows us to do our job and just love it.
The
people, obviously. The people not just here at Crafters Companion, but the viewers that watch us. I mean, everybody. We have this real magical essence about it.
Bye for now. Bye.
Hello and welcome back. I hope you're enjoying watching all those little videos. I'm always quite amazed when I'm sitting in here going, oh, I didn't know that, didn't know this. So I do hope you are enjoying seeing those. The next thing we've got on the show are the decorative swashboarders. So I haven't seen these in action either because they've only just come out really last couple of weeks. So the first one we've got here is your Delightful Daisy. Then we have, the next one is your Dreamy Dragonfly. You have your Sketched Rose, your Beautiful Bow, your Harmonious Heart, and Fluttering By. Really very simple, very clean and elegant, the images here you've got. £31.96, $39.80, your platinum price is £25.57, or $31.84. Jan, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with these.
These are really, really pretty, I must admit. If you like that more sort of simplistic look on your cards, they're almost like a skeleton die, which when we say that, it's like an outline. Again, lend themselves beautifully to that paper piece if that's where you want to take it. But I've just got a few to show you here. We've got the hearts there, and they're effectively like a little border. Really fine cut, you know, I mean, you'd be really struggling to cut that with a pair of scissors or a craft knife. So that one's the hearts there, and again, all we've done is overlay that over some pattern paper and added a sentiment, as simple as that. You've got that beautiful little butterfly, which is the one we're going to use in our demonstration there, and you can see how they're just stretched from one side. They're approximately 6 inches across, all the designs, so they'll fit nicely into your other card sizes, whether you're working a 6x6 card. This one's actually a 5x7. We've just popped a border around it and trapped it under the border. But again, like the one I showed you earlier, you know, doubling them up, and you've got those beautiful little dragonflies there where those wings are released just as a second one on top there, so doubling it up. And again, you know, not even doubling, you can go for that triple element with them. This time we've just popped some glitter card behind there where the roses are. And again, you know, teaming it up with your inks or with your pattern papers, really, really pretty designs, but very, very simplistic in their design. But again, just shows you how many different things you can do with them. So again, for the purpose of this morning, I'm going to keep it fairly simple as that concept was designed. We're going to use the Fluttering By. So it's a 6.1 inches, so they're just a fraction over 6 inches long. This one's about just 2¼ inches from top to bottom. So if I show you what I mean there, you can see you've got a really nice sort of element. Now it's up to you whether you use it that way, you know, on the portrait sort of style, whether you go with it across that horizontal on the landscape, whether you go diagonally, you know, there's so many different ways of it. And again, recutting the skeleton part here, layering it up, you saw how that dragonfly had those lovely leaves that were, wings that were loose on there. So yeah, really, really pretty. And the way that they've been drawn as well, you've got that gorgeous, you'll see when it's cut out, that lovely scrolly sort of effect to it there. But I want something to put this on. I'm going to work in black for mine. So I've actually cut my little butterfly out in black, and you can see there just the clarity of that. The black on white is stunning. So if you wanted to work black on white and just literally keep it like so, you know, you've got a card there without doing anything else to it, you know. So if, for example, if you were wanting to make a set of invitations or something like that, they'd be a really nice one for mass producing, because this is simply a die cut that I'm then going to add some of my dotty tape pen to stick it down. If you do have something like a Xyron machine, you can run them through there to make them sticky. Again, you can use your little dots of wet glue if you wish, if you prefer that, but they'd be very easy to make batches of if you were wanting to use them, as I say, for invitations or anything like that. I actually want to pop a little bit of colour in the back of mine, so I've just brought along some of my inks there, and I've gone for a favourite combination here. I've got the pale ones, the sort of lightest shades from 3 different colour families. I've got the Straw Bale from the yellow, Spring Meadow from that grass green collection, and Oasis from the turquoise. And I'm literally just going to apply these to create a background. So I've actually got some watercolour card, or you can work with the smooth smooth all-purpose card, whichever you prefer. And literally all I'm going to do is pop, and I tend to work in sort of sets of 3. So just getting that ink down at a level that's nice and vibrant. Now the reason I picked the opaque inks is they're a little bit, I love the water reactive inks, don't get me wrong, but they're a bit more sort of vibrant colourways. They're the same colour family, so they're still working with straw bale, but because of the nature of the ink, the water reactive ones are a little bit brighter, and I wanted this to remain sort of more of a pastel shade there. So I've got 1, 2 and a little bit here. Tend to work in sort of sets of 3s when I'm inking. So that's the first one. And then the next one's going to be, I'm just going to change my applicator to the green, pop the lid on the lemon one so that I don't end up in there by mistake. And then again, we're just going to add some green into the mix as well. So, however, there's no right or wrong with this. It's just wherever you decide you want to pop it. And I'm just going to grab a little bit of kitchen paper so that I don't put my paw prints in the ink there, because they will actually lift the ink back off.
Tammy says, Jan, you're awesome, and I love when you're on CCTV.
Oh, thank you.
You explain everything so well, so I can save the video and rewatch. I've learnt so much from you. Thank you.
Oh, bless. That's lovely. Thank you very much.
It's always nice to hear, isn't it?
I think it's the teacher in me. It's just I'm used to, 14 years in school. It was sort of like inbred then into explaining things. And again, I'm just going to swap that one out for my turquoise, which is the Oasis. Just change the ink applicator again, load that up with the ink, and I'm just going to fill in those gaps. So again, just pop a little bit of that. And the beauty of this is that it just blends so nicely. Now you can do this with your water reactive. If you wanted a little bit more sort of vibrant colour, the water reactive ones are the same colour family, but you would get a little bit more vibrancy in the colour there. I certainly wouldn't recommend the quick dry for this particular technique, because obviously they dry as soon as they hit a porous surface. Right. So the minute you get them onto your card, the idea is it's going to dry, which makes it difficult then to move that ink around and blend it. So those have their own purpose. They are brilliant for stamping sentiments and layering stamps where you want it to dry quick, but because I'm moving the ink around on here, I want that to stay wet for a few minutes. So then what I tend to do is just go back down my colours, and where the two have overlapped, I'm just going to do that little bit of extra blending back there. So back down to the lemon one at the end, and again where the two overlap, just that little bit of blending so that it takes away some of that harsh edge on there. So you can see there we've got that lovely sort of technique coming along. And then we're going to add, because they are water reactive, I'm just going to grab my water, which is just tap water that I've got in here. I'm going to pop a little bit onto the mat there, and then I've just got my little splatter brush, and all we're going to do is tap a little bit of that across and leave that just for a second. The longer you leave that, the better the effect with the water. Okay. And then I can get rid of all the excess off my mat there. And then you can actually see, I love watching this happen, you can actually see where it's starting to push the ink about here and move it away from where that water's landed. And you can see it starting to make that lovely sort of blotchy element on it. So as I say, the longer you leave that, the better it works. But because we're on the telly, we'll give it a little blot, and you'll see that it does pull up some of that. It will continue to work because it's still damp, but you just get these little areas that have got like that watermark in it. Just gives it an extra bit of sort of effect there. So that's going to be my background. Pretty much the same, just apart from the placement, as the one that I did at home. This one's dried off, so it's a wee bit lighter than that one. So we'll use the one that's dry. And again, I'm going to keep that really simple. So I've got my background card, which is 6.5 by 5. So I've actually worked with the size of what I wanted this one to be. And then I've actually used the black for the matte layer because I've got the skeleton outline in the black. But just before we pop all that together, I'm going to recut my little butterfly in some silver because I want to give it like a little drop shadow. So I've just got a piece of our silver matte Miri card there. It's not the really shiny one. It's what I call the satin Miri card. And again, we'll pop the little guy on there. And I'm just going to pass that through, and these will easily pop through your smaller machine there, the MIDI. Just trying to think whether that's going to fit through the, let me just double check, I suspect, yeah, it will just fit through your Mini there as well. If you're just cutting this out as an element to work with, they're actually going to fit in your little Mini as well if you're using the Mini. So we've got it on the cardstock, we need some plates, Jan. I keep popping everything back away to try and stay tidy. And again, we'll just pop those together, normal sandwich, pass that through my Gemini, and then I'm just going to layer these so that there's a little bit of the silver showing behind, as if the light's catching it, to create that shadow. So again, we've got, there he is, look, flown away straight away. Get rid of those. Pop that one back so that I know where he is. And then I heat embossed. I just found in my set of sentiments, you make my heart flutter. I just thought that fit really nicely with the butterfly. Perfect. And I've just done that with some white embossing powder there. So let's pop that together then. So first thing we're going to do is pop the mats and layers together. So I want to pop the coloured one onto that black mat.
Sue Ellen asked, what kind of ink did you use with glycerine several months ago?
That was actually our watercolour pens, our aqua pens, that I use the glycerine with, which effectively turns the ink in your pens into a manageable product that you could do this technique with. So if I just grab one of those, the ones that I'm talking about are our aqua pens by Spectrum Noir. And all I did was pop a little bit of this out onto my mat, and then I added a wee bit of glycerin to my sponge applicator and picked up the ink. And the glycerin, all the glycerin does is make it stay wet long enough to move it around on the cardstock, because traditionally this type of ink isn't meant for that technique, but it's just another way of getting a bit more. So if you've got the watercolour pens at home and you don't have the inks, you can still create this kind of background with it.
Great.
Just needs a tiny, tiny little drop of glycerin, and just work it into your applicator and then pick up the coloured ink from your pen, and then it will behave on the surface of your cardstock just like our actual inks did. Yeah, so that was...
If you use the glycerine, should you wash that applicator
I tend to keep mine separate, so I've got them in a little plastic bags, because the glycerine's quite a... there's the word viscous.
Yeah.
And it's quite almost oily, so what you don't want to do is then contaminate your ink pads with that kind of applicator. So if I've used glycerin in it, I've got all mine in a separate bag, and it just says on the front of it glycerin, so that I know that if I want to do that again, I've got those separately. Right. And funnily enough, it was a very similar colour palette, I think, that I demoed with the inks a while ago with the glycerin, because it's just one of my favourite combinations, this. I love those three colours together. So yes, I remember doing it and demonstrating it. I'm sure there were very similar colourways to what we've just used on here with the inks.
That's really handy. And it's good to know that, if you don't have all of those, we're lucky because we have access to every single kind of ink pad, but you might not have them, and being able to adapt what you currently have in your stash.
It does, yeah, and it makes the product more worthwhile, I think. The more you can do with it, it's like, products are designed for a purpose, and that's fair enough, but if you can do something else with that product, it then makes it more worthwhile. And that's the bit that I like playing with. It's like, yes, I will always demonstrate you the concept, like we're going to do with this one here, but then it's a case of, I sort of challenge myself then to sort of look at what else can I do with it? How else will it work? And that's the bit that I enjoy doing. So what we're going to do with this little guy now is we're going to just set them down so that there's a wee bit of the silver showing so that it just looks as if the light's catching it and it's got a little silver border there. So I'm going to stick the silver one down first, and again I'm going to use those dots. Now if you're not confident, if you are a wee bit heavy-handed and you don't like working on your glass mat, just bring a piece of extra paper to work on. But the secret with this one is very, very light touch. The dots will come out as soon as you roll it, as soon as you touch it. If you press on really hard, yes, the dots are going to transfer to whatever behind there, whether it's a scrap card or whether it's your glass mat. But if you just roll them along really lightly, you just want them to catch that actual design. And again, I tend to work with the way the design's being cut so that you're not snagging it. And then I'm going to pop this one down first. So let's just make sure we've got room for the sentiment at the top. And then this is going to stretch pretty much from one side. I'd sort of made it, I want him a little bit lower down, I think, there, yeah. So that little one's going to go all the way across like so.
Monique says, I love how simple these are, but look so complex and elegant.
They are. The way that they've been, and you know, as I say, trying to cut something out like that by hand would be a night. I'd have no chance. You'd have bits missing everywhere. You'd have, you know, nothing left of it, because to do that with your scissors and get that thin, or even with a craft knife, the mind boggles. Yeah. So the fact that you've got these done ready, and they're such beautiful designs as well. They're very, as I say, very simplistic in their form. But I think that's a lovely word to use. It makes a very elegant design when they're finished.
Zoe's got a question. Years ago, we were always told to store our ink pads upside down. Is this still the advice today?
I never, ever store my ink pads upside down. The ink is suspended inside whatever format. So, for example, your opaque ones have a sponge pad inside, and the ink is suspended in there. So regardless of whether it's this way up or this way up, the ink's still suspended. The theory behind it is that the ink falls to the bottom in effect. So let me just pop this little guy down for a second. So the idea is that if it was this way up, the ink was going to drain to the bottom. If it was this way up, the ink would drain to the surface and therefore be ready to use. But it's suspended in there. It's going to be ready to use anyway. And I've never ever with any of my ink pads had them upside down. I store them all on the trays that we supply. Yep. And I have them all this way up, and I have a whole range of distress inks as well, which I love, and they're the same. I don't have those upside down either. So it's one of those, can or you can't. If you have a really, really juicy ink pad and you store it upside down, you can end up with ink in the lid here, and you want the ink in the pad to work with. So yeah, it's one of those. Some people will say yes, some people will say no, but I've never ever stored mine upside down, I must admit.
And all the ones we have here, like you say, are stored in the trays right side up, so they seem to work well. But
so what I'm going to do with this one then, Becky, is rather than go straight over the top, I'm going to line it up, but then just pull it back just a fraction. And just by using the tweezers there, I can just sort of manipulate it into place so that there's a little bit of that silver showing above the black. And the idea is that the light's catching that there and creating that little bit of a, you know, sort of highlight. And it just adds that little bit of extra to it. And again, just by using the tweezers there, I can just manipulate it into place. And then once I'm happy with it, I prefer to go and apply the pressure from the back of your design so that you're not snagging it and pulling it up again. And then again, I've just got a little sentiment that we'd heat embossed. And I'm just going to add that into that top corner. So later on, if you can join us, I have these on our tea time show here, which is 6 o'clock in the UK, and we're going to do some more. My producer's just saying if there's any stock left, but can you just see how that silver's catching the light there and just picking up that little highlight on it? So again, I'm not even adding, and they are my go-to, but I was going to add some beads, some pearls to it, but I don't think it needs it. I just think they are really, really pretty. Let them do all the talking. Let it be the focal point on your card. As I say, that's just using one of them. If you remember on those samples, you know, double them up and use them in twos, or even, you know, if you've got a bigger card area, that was the one that had the 3 on it. So, you know, you don't have to just use one of them as an element on the front there.
That's really beautiful, very quick and easy. Lovely. So this is your collection of decorative swash borders. So the first one is your Fluttering By, which is one you've just seen Jan using with that lovely little butterfly on it. The next one is your Delightful Daisy. Then we have your Dreamy Dragonfly. Next one is your Sketched Rose. Then we have your Beautiful Bow. And finally, your Harmonious Hearts. Price for this is £31.96, $39.80. More than half the stock has gone. So if you do want this, you do need to make sure you get it. Because I don't know if it will last to the show later on today. But do check out your baskets. And we're going to take a quick break and we will be back in a couple of moments.
My name's Craig Laird. I work at Crafters Companion. I am a craft expert where I get to play with lots of crafty goodies from Crafters Companion, and hopefully we're here to inspire you with lots of crafty things that you can do. So my crafting journey, that started many years ago, actually just over 20 years ago. I actually came across crafting on UK Shopping TV. I was unwell at the time, and I was just channel surfing, just having a look to see what was on TV, and then I came across who has now become my friend, Dawn Bibby, and I thought, oh, quite like that bit of crafting that she's doing. I purchased some crafty goodies, and before you know it, here I am, all these years later, doing what I'm doing with Crafters Companion. So believe it or not, none of my family or friends are actually very creative. So the creative side in me has actually just progressed naturally. As I have progressed, I've become really good friends with many craft experts out there in the industry, and they're the ones that inspire me. Then coming to Crafters Companion, Crafters TV, and interacting with all the crafters at home, seeing what they make. I am a huge advocate for social media because you get to see lots of things that everyone makes at home, and that does inspire me as well. Many years ago, before I started here at Crafters Companion, believe it or not, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I didn't go out a lot, I didn't do much. Now, with Crafters Companion and Crafters TV, it's given me so much confidence, self-belief. My biggest crafting success, I'm going to have to pick 2. One of them is appearing on HSN America. I was really lucky a couple of years ago to actually go to Florida with Sarah to see how it all works behind the scenes. An incredible juggernaut that the Shopping TV is at HSN. That for me is an incredible proud moment. I will never ever forget when all of you incredible crafters at home voted enough for me to be in the running of the 2021 Male Craft Personality of the Year. Was such a humbling feeling. I was so proud. I was so grateful. Our Crafters TV audience are absolutely incredible. For me personally, it is personal interaction. I've never had the best of health. I've always been open about that with our viewers, and the support that I get. So many people are in the same situation as me health-wise, but if you just want that interaction, you just want to have that chat away about anything random in life, onto social media, onto Crafters TV, you know that you're going to get that support, you're going to get that understanding when it comes to the crafters at home.
Hello everybody, welcome back. We've also got some fancy frame dies in the show today, but it's been really busy, and one of them has already gone, which is the one that Jan's going to be using in her next demonstration. But it doesn't matter because we're going to show you all the others anyway, and you'll see the theory behind them all. So these are our fancy frame die selection. The first one here is your beautiful butterflies, very pretty design that you've got here. Next one you've got here is your snowflakes, sparkling snowflakes. Great if you manage to get hold of the Winter Sparkle collection. You can be using that together with that one. Then we have your bells and bows. The next one is your winter foliage with those kind of holly leaves around the outside. And then finally we've got graceful flourish. I can't say it today. Graceful Flourish, £56.63 or $66.50. Your platinum price is £45.30, and that's $53.20. Jan, you're going to be doing the roses one, which is unfortunately sold out, but it's the same theory, isn't it?
It is. My demo's for all the people out there that bought the contemporary roses. Yeah, it had to be the one that sold out first, didn't it, that I'd chosen to demo. But
always.
Yeah, they all work in the same way. They're all the same size. They're just slightly different details on the die. So just in case you weren't with us at the top of the show, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, these are a 5x7 design that have an aperture to fit a 6x4 photo. So they were designed primarily to sort of work as a photo frame, and you've got that beautiful sort of foliage on this one. This is the holly with the berries, and you know, we've just added a little bit of colour. I'm going to use this one later on in the other show tonight, so you can just see how it frames really nicely. And again, that's the snowflakes, and again, just popping a photo in there. Some really nice little photos. So whatever you've got, you know, in your we tend not to use as many photos. I personally find now that a lot of photos are trapped in my phone or in whatever device you use to take you know, your photos with. But yeah, get them printed out and use these. I'm actually going to do a scrapbook page later with a photograph, just to sort of highlight it. But you don't have to use a photo. This one we showed earlier has just got that lovely stamped panel in there, and you've got the bows and bells there just framing it beautifully. And again, you know, that's the same snowflake one. If I bring out the one that we've just looked at, so this was with the photo in, and then again with the shaker pieces in the back there. So just, you know, such a really pretty way of adding them. Now they're all rectangular in shape, but again, there's no reason why you couldn't actually snip halfway and overlap them if you wanted to make it into a square frame for a scrapbook or something like that, you know. So there are ways and means around it, and also a lot of snippability into those detailed corners that are on each one. That's what we're going to do. We're going to overlay the corners on the demo. So poor old Becky there had a little drink, and it sort of went the wrong way there. Are you all right, my lovely?
All right now.
Bless her. She went off out of the studio there. We wondered what on earth had happened.
I'm so sorry. I do apologise about
okay.
that.
I know the customers will be worried because if we got a glimpse of it, well, just a little here of the cough there. Honestly, it's the world's worst when you're on air and that happens, and you just know what's coming, don't you?
I know, you can't stop it.
Oh, it's the same with the sneezes and things like that. You're like, and end up making the most weird noise because you've tried to hold it in. So, yes, my apologies, the fact that this one is no longer available now. All the others are, and this was prepped in advance, so I've already sort of put this in the demo, but like I said, it's for all those people that have bought it and sold it out. This one's for you guys. So again, we're just going to take that metalwork out, and I just want to appreciate the detail on these just for a second. Because not only have you got these gorgeous corners, in this case we've got that contemporary rose, but you've got the external frame here that's got a scalloped edge round it. And then if you were watching earlier this morning when we started out and I used the embossing mat, when I said you're looking at your dies for areas that don't have a cutting edge, this has got a series of little dots all the way punctuating that scalloped edge.
Wow.
That don't have a cutting die. So that is your embossed piece. So again, have a look at it when you've die cut it, and if it wants a second pass through to sort of emphasize these, you've got that die cut, and then you've got the straight edge which cuts out the aperture in the center, and this was the bit that I said will hide a 6x4 photo behind the two corners. So yeah, really well thought out, beautiful design, and we're actually going to cut that into some gold. Again, it's the satin mirror card there, and we're just going to pop that down and cut that into the design. And I'm not actually using a photo in this particular one. I heard I was watching Leanne the other day, and she was talking about our beautiful paper pads and thinking about sort of all those paper pads that you've got and those designs that are on there, and some of them are really nice, and they're nice enough to frame, and that's exactly what I've done with this particular one. So for example, this is actually from the Country Lane paper pad. And I mean, that image is absolutely gorgeous. It really is. It was a little bit big for what I wanted to do with the frame. So I've actually taken a separate part of this was a 12 by 12 sheet, and this was actually a separate part of it that I've just taken out. And this is the bit that we're actually going to see through the frame. So have a look at your paper pads, you know, have a look at what's going on in them. Sometimes you think, oh, that design might be a wee bit big for what I want to do. These are the ones that you can actually use to do the frames with. So again, I'm just going to take that out really carefully because these corners are such a beautiful cut that I just want to take what's something, there it is. I was going to say something stuck. It's my tape, Jan, that's what's stuck. And then pop that one out of here.
Beautiful, isn't it?
But they're so filigree that I just want to, I think I've got a little tiny bit there for some reason. I think I'd got it a bit far over when I've cut it. It's not quite cut through for some reason. There we go. That's it. So again, just to get that to release. They're all really, really sort of tiny filigree pieces in there that I don't want to snag. For some reason, I don't know why, I've got a little tiny piece there that's not cut. I'm just wondering whether I had all my shims in then when I've used the cut. So I'm just going to free it with the scissors because I've only got that one piece of cut. There we go. That's it. And just that last little bit there, that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to frame this piece with that lovely border. So I've got, oops, that way, spun round. So we're actually going to pop this on here, like so.
That works really well with that paper, doesn't it?
With the gold. So I've just got a couple of little bits in there that want to poke out. I'm not happy with the way that's cut, to be honest. I think I'm actually going to recut this. I don't know whether it was that cardstock or what it was, but just bear with me. I am going to see if I can find another piece of gold, Becky, and recut that, because I'm not overly happy with how that one's cut.
No problem. As Suzanne said, Jan is a true teacher, not only a teacher, but that rare breed of excellent teachers. Having worked in schools, believe me, they are rare. Brilliant job, Jan.
Oh, thank you so
Miriam
much.
says these dies would work beautifully with a silhouette floral dies. And Kathy says it's beautiful, so easy to use. I think that was for the swash dies. So these are the fancy frame dies that we're using at the moment. So these, obviously the one that Jan is using, that rose one, isn't the one we've got in stock, but they all follow the same kind of theory. So you've got these beautiful sort of edges to them with embellishments on either corner or opposite corners. So this one is your beautiful butterflies. The next one is your sparkling snowflakes, and this one's going to be really good if for all of those sort of Christmassy things that you're doing. I mean, I know that I can't even remember when I was last on the show, but we had Winter Sparkle and it was really, really popular and sold out. But it's always nice to have extra sort of dies that are going to work with all of your Christmas sentiments as well. The next one is your bells and bows. Again, great for Christmas. Lots of sort of golds and reds and greens I can see in this one. Then this one here is your winter foliage with all those, this really lends itself to paper piecing really, doesn't it? Let's be honest, putting all those little pieces of holly and holly berries into those frames. And then finally the graceful flourish. Again, really pretty design. You can use these for all sorts of different times of the year. £56.63 or $66.50. Great opportunity for you to pop these in your basket. Did you manage to find a bit of gold card?
I can't find any gold, but I found some beautiful rose gold glitter card, which I think will work.
Lovely.
And this is a perfect opportunity to show. We were talking earlier about using that metal shim when we're using the glitter card. So I'm literally going to put it to its test now. So I think the problem is I'd taken this out earlier when we did the other design, and I don't think I'd put it back in. But just for safety purposes, I'm going to bring in the bigger plates. I'm going to bring in my metal shim, and we're going to have a go at cutting it, because I think the rose gold will work with the design that I've got. So I need a cutting plate and the metal shim there. So every time I use glitter card, I do tend to pop that metal shim in place, and then we're going to have all the shims in there as well. Oops. So again, pass that through this time. And because you've got the pressure pressing the metal die through the cardstock against the metal shim, you're going to get that really nice bite on there. So just going to pass that through and we'll have a look and see where we're at with that one. So let's have a look at the reverse. You'll be able to tell straight away from the back here, that looks pretty much okay to me. So again, let's just pop those out of the way, and
because that would be something I would shy away from, using glitter card on such an intricate die.
That's
like you
what,
say, putting that extra shim in makes a big difference.
You can just see, look, that's what that metal shim was designed for. I wouldn't never recommend using it for every single cut. You don't need it. It was designed to add that extra bite when you're using sort of coated cardstock, glitter card probably being the primary sort of example of that. So again, I'm just going to release some of those pieces, which helps to release the die with my die brush. And then I always prefer to turn it over and take my die out from the back. Just use one of the release holes to get it started. And then we can literally tease it out of that die, that metal there. So you can see this time, even though we've used the glitter card, we've got that gorgeous die cut element there. So if we get rid of that one and all the bits.
Well, that's absolutely perfect cut, isn't it?
Just look at that. So this was the lady earlier that was asking about the glitter card.
Yeah.
If I just bring that on here again now.
That was Kathy.
That's really intricate there on those roses, and yet that's cut perfectly into the glitter card. All right, so the original design I was going to use gold, but I think we could get away with that rose gold. So again, I've just created some mats and layers. Got the little pieces stuck to me now there. And this is actually the reverse side, because this was a double-sided paper. It's got that lovely sort of almost wood grain effect, so I've used that for my back layer, and we're just going to pop that one down first with the tape pen. Again, if you're using wet glue, I would go with my all-purpose glue. Whenever I'm sticking cardstock layers together, I would use the all-purpose glue there. I don't think there is a right or wrong way with that particular design, but we'll have the card the right way. So this is going to be my outside layer. Now we're actually mixing and matching gold and rose gold now, but I don't think it will matter.
No, with that pink that you've got in there, that works all together, doesn't it?
And then I've just made a smaller frame, actually enclosing one of those gorgeous sort of elements from that paper pad to go in the middle, and then we're going to lie this one over the top there.
Beautiful.
Okay, so again, I'm just going to stick this one flat and get that one centered in the middle of my card there, like so. So we're just going to eyeball around about the center there. So what I've done is I've cut my inside piece of paper to 6 by 4 inches, which would be the equivalent of a standard size photograph here in the UK. They tend to be printed in 6 by 4 inches unless you ask otherwise. That tends to be sort of the default size of a photo, and that's what we've done these dies. You can see the inside of that die now is actually covering that beautifully there. So again, because this is really intricate, I'm going to bring that dotty tape pen back in to do the filigree parts at the back here. Oh, I've just spied a little piece that's still clinging on. There it is, look. You think you've got them all. I just saw it when I was putting the glue dots over it there.
The fact you've only had one in it's such an intricate die really does go to show the difference that it makes with that using that shim with the glitter
It is, yeah. As I say, I wouldn't use it on every cut. It doesn't need it if you're just doing a normal cut. But anything that's a coated cardstock, I would pop that metal shim in, and it does make a vast difference to the cut. And you can see how that's gone through that cardstock there with no problem. So I'm just going to use a little bit of my wet glue around that straight edge here. just to get a
April
good
says,
stick.
do you have a suggestion for making this frame to be able to leave the inside blank so someone else can insert the picture of their choice?
I think that would work if you just left a section of it unstuck. So I'm actually going to stick this down in its entirety here. But if, for example, let me just get that bit stuck down. If you just left, for example, one of the sides unstuck so that you could, because the outside of the frame is bigger than the 6x4, you possibly, I'm not for certain, I haven't tried it, but the idea being is that you could slide your photo in from underneath.
Would you want to put the edge up on foam pads on the other side to give it, so there's a bit more gap in between it? Would that one work? Possibly, yeah. I would go for possibly one of the long edges so that you could just slide a photo in from underneath it. So it would come underneath the decorative detail here and underneath this edge. Because that photo is smaller than the frame, in theory, that would be able to slide underneath there. But that is something I would need to try to double check. But I think that's how I would tackle it and see if that worked. Whether it was successful or not, I think I'd need to have an experiment with, but I can't see why it wouldn't. If you just put your tape, if you sort of started your tape from the top here and did glue around 3 sides and then left the bottom corner and this side so that you could slide underneath, I think that would work. You just need to make sure that the corner didn't get damaged then if you were moving it, you know, sort of moving things about. And then with the gold, what I was actually going to do was overlay. I've cut this again in pink and just run it through my sticky machine. And I think we can still get away with those over the rose gold. But I've just done the actual floral corners. And what I wanted to do was just overlay those, just to add. It seems a shame now over the glitter card. But if we offset them, we can see a bit of both there. So I'm just going to not quite cover it completely so that we've got a little bit of both. Now again, if you don't have the sticky making machines, you can use your dotty tape pen again, or you could use your wet glue. So depending on, you know, what your go-to is. So again, I'm just sort of slightly offsetting those so that it's not directly over the top and I can still see a little bit of the rose gold through. And then the last thing that we want there is a sentiment. And all I've done is stamp out birthday wishes. And because we've got less of the imagery going on up at the top there, I'm just going to pop that one. And you can see there. So it doesn't look too bad. It was intended to be the gold, but I wasn't happy with that first cut. Lovely, so, really beautiful. I like that a lot.
The rose gold sort of disappeared into the colour scheme a little bit, but you get the idea there with it.
That's great. We should, I think, do demo of the show because it's going to run away with us if you can get all your cards together. So it's amazing how much you managed to put together today. So these are your fancy frame dies that you've just seen here. So you've got your beautiful butterflies here. So the rose one was the one that you just saw, which is out of stock, but you do have all of these. Sparkling snowflakes was the next one. Then we've got bells and bows. And as somebody said, that one's very good for weddings, actually. And winter foliage is this next one. And then finally, graceful flourish, £56.63 or $66.50. So how many did you manage to do?
I've done 4.
Wow, speed crafting is what I call it.
So right at the top of the show then, we gave you a little sort of taster of what was coming up at 2 o'clock with those paper piecing dies. So that was the first sample, and that's those lovely roses done with the hold and release sheets to get those paper pieces, piecing pieces back in there. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Paper piecing pieces back into the design. So number 1 in the lilac. Number 2, we did those beautiful creator cards, those 3-in-1 creator cards. And again, keeping that really, really simple with the coloured card behind it. We've got that lovely fairy there on number 2. Number 3 was the swash dies, which apparently are selling very quickly. Now these are not due back, 6 o'clock tonight. So My goodness.
60% gone already.
Producer Johnny there in our ear, 60% gone, Jan, the 60% gone. So yes, we are due to bring these back at 6 o'clock tonight if there are any left. So that was the swash dies, that's number 3. And then number 4, you've just seen us have a look at those beautiful fancy frames there. And that was the rose one, which I'm afraid is actually sold out now, but there are 5 other designs to choose from. But my demo was already prepped before we realised. So 1, 2, 3 or 4 on those this morning. Thank you.
Fantastic. Get your votes in and we'll see which one's the winner. So we do have a craft kit on the show. So this is the one with a paper piecing in there. So you've got all sorts of different things in here to make all of those different designs. So you've got a full complement of bits and pieces. This works really well for somebody that's a new crafter, or if you want to give this as a complete gift to somebody, because everything's in here. You've got enough to make 16 different cards. You've got the card blanks. You've got all the other embellishments as well as the dies. But Jan, you're going to show us exactly what's inside, aren't you?
Yeah, these have sort of become a collector's item, Becky. They're, I mean, this is actually box number 50, so you can see how many of these there were. And I know a lot of our customers have got the whole set. I have the odd 1 or 2 missing. I do have a lot of them. I've got the odd 1 or 2 missing. But yeah, so this is number 50, and it's all about paper piecing. So it's like a little introduction if it's something that you want to try, sort of almost try before you buy. And like Becky's just said, they make excellent gifts. They're nice and easy to wrap, because I only buy gifts that are in square boxes, Becky, because I love wrapping presents, but I don't like wrapping things that are funny shapes.
No, I understand.
So yeah, absolutely gorgeous. If you've got a crafty friend, or if you're doing a Secret Santa or something like that, they would make terrific gifts. Now it says makes a minimum of 16 cards on the front there, over 200 elements in there. So yeah, you've got a certain amount of consumables in your box, but you've also got elements that are going to last, such as the stamps and the dies. You've got inspiration on the front, so if you want to recreate any of these designs, you can go for it. And then, as always, they're presented beautifully. We've got that little introduction there from our Sarah, and there are details inside there. It says, I can just see right in the top of the box, if you want to know more, for full instructions, you can visit our website there, and there's the link. So when we open this up, take my prep out for later, because we're going to do a little bit of work with this later on. So let's take out some of the bits and pieces and start at the bottom there. Now obviously I've cut into some of mine because I've prepped some demos for you to have a look at later. But you have got, and they all come to you, if you haven't seen these before, they come in these beautiful packaging, which I always keep because I think polka dots are a really nice paper to have. But you've got a selection of both cardstock and pattern paper. Your cardstock's double-sided and they are 8x8 sheets, and you've got a selection of colours here that are going to complement your pattern papers. So you can just see there, we've got that lovely rainbow of colours there. You also get some black and white cardstock, and if you look at the inspiration on the front of the box there, a lot of the dies are cut with the black outlines or the white outline. So I think the idea behind the black and white card was to cut the dies with. But when you look at these, you can see that the papers have got that same colour palette. So you can start and sort of match them up. For example, you've got those lovely stripes there on that nice colour. You can see your matting and layering starting to come together, and then the scraps that are left over you can use to build up that paper piecing. So that's the 8x8 cardstock and pattern paper, and you get a selection of those in all our craft kits. And then we come to the cards and envelopes. So again, in all the craft kits there are a selection of cards. Now this time they're all 6x4 size because they work perfectly with the dies. And then you've got the matching envelopes, so you can decorate your envelope to match if you wish, and these are perfect. You've got the perfect size to pop all these in, so you've got a finished sample when you're done. So that's the cards and envelopes in there. Again, there are, as like I said, there are elements that are sort of you're going to use up. They are consumable elements. And then I'm going to bring the dies out next, because this is sort of the workhorse of the box. This is what it's all about. You've got two beautiful paper piecing dies there. So we've got that gorgeous rose And you can see there's some really nice large areas in there, and we're going to do some demos with these later on in that paper piecing show. But really nice areas to put those pieces of card back in there. But you can see that lovely sort of narrow, again, that filigree line art there, that sort of skeleton outline that's going to create the shape for you to pop those pieces back in. And then the second one, he's adorable. You've got the butterfly there. So I've got both of these prepped to demo, if we can fit them in the show later, to show you what these look like and how they work. And we've also given you some pieces of that hold and release sheet. So if you were watching at the top of the show and you saw me use this in conjunction with that paper piecing die, and these are just the right size for your dies to fit on. All right, and we'll go through all that in that later show when we demo how this actually works. If you didn't see the beginning of this show, if you can join us later on, we're going to go through that again. And then you get a selection of stamps in there as well, which again are really nice. There's a really nice selection of sentiments in there. So not only you're out your normal sort of happy birthday, get well soon, congratulations, but you've got, you know, live life in full bloom, sending you a little smile, fluttering by just to say, you know, there's some extra sort of ones in there. Really nice little set to hang on to, that one. So again, those are going to last you. And then as always with the boxes, we always pop some sort of accents in as well. So in this particular one, we've got the satin ribbon in 3 different sizes, and you've got those gorgeous candy colours which are going to match the cardstock and the paper. So it's all been thought through. 3 different widths there for you to have a play with. And then I love, these are one of my favourites. You know how much I like my sort of embellishments, but these are the little dewdrops.
Oh, lovely.
Which are absolutely gorgeous. So just used as is, they just look like that sort of drop of morning dew. But if you add your alcohol markers to them, they become like little jewels, and you can colour them pretty much to whatever you want to match your designs then, if you wanted a coloured element in there. So again, you've got a selection of those in there. The only thing that you really need to add to it is some kind of adhesive. So whether you're going to work with your wet glues or whether you're going to work with your tape pens, you've then got the facility to start making those lovely little cards. And just because we've put 6x4 inch cards in your kit doesn't mean that you can't make larger cards with them as well. You know, so if you want to move away from the ones that are in the kit, you can make your 6x6, your 5x7s, you know, your different style cards, and use those lovely little paper piece dies on there. So yeah, a really, really nice one, I think, and especially if you like the idea of trying the paper piecing. It's a way of sort of having a go before you commit to buying a larger range. So yeah, really, really nice one.
Fantastic.
50.
And that price, £15, $15, or platinum price is £12 or $12, 40% saving on that. Anne-Marie says, got this for my granddaughter for an extra Christmas present. And Zoe said, just ordered the box. I've not had one before and I wanted to give paper piecing a go. The price and the discount in my email made me order. Yes, I'm not surprised, because, you know, having everything all contained in here, definitely well worth the money. Other items, so we're actually going over to my side of the world. We're going to Softcraft. So as we're talking about paper piecing, we've actually got a foundation paper piecing pad. Now that is a mouthful to say. So this is slightly different. This is not papercraft. This is an opportunity to buy this pad and start foundation paper piecing. Now foundation paper piecing is quite, it looks like a very intricate way of quilting. If I show you a few samples I've got here, this for example is a Christmas stocking that's been made with this bird. Now traditionally, when we were using fabric, we'd be cutting out the shape in order to create it. But by using foundation paper piecing, we're actually using a paper that we're putting together and we're sewing along straight lines. We're folding it out and we're creating this kind of image. We're creating curves, but actually with lines, straight lines. So if you come in a little bit closer, you can possibly see here how that's being created. Now, it looks very complicated, but actually the way that this particular pad is being created, it demystifies this kind of foundation paper piecing, this type of quilting, and makes it super, super easy. So you can create items like that, like this even, which is absolutely beautiful. This particular quilt that's been made by one of the design team, getting those kind of curves is something that is quite difficult to do without doing a plique and just cutting out the shape and sewing it on. But this actually forms part of the whole piece of fabric. Now the way that you do this is by using these paper pads. We've got full instructions in here. We've also done videos as well. And you will see, so this one is a house. You can see here you've actually got very, very thin paper. You will cut out the overall shape, and then you've got a little detail about how to cut the pieces of fabric. So you're just cutting long shapes, whole rectangular shapes, and you will place your piece of fabric over the top of this piece of paper, and you'll stitch along the straight lines, and that's how you'll join the fabric together. And it's just a question of sewing along the lines, folding the fabric out, taking the next piece and adding it together. But we've given you full instructions on the website for you to do that, and it's very, very simple. £24.99 or $29.95. Platinum price is $19.99 or $23.96. The next thing we're going to have a look at is this one here. So this is our paper piecing collection that we've got, which you've seen earlier on today. So you've got your trailing foliage, this one here, sorry, I'll put them around the right way so I can actually read them. That's trailing florals here. Next one is your Pappy Bees. Then we have your Radiant Roses. And then finally, butterflies and blooms, £25 or $38. Platinum price is £20 or $30.40. And Jan, you've got some finished samples for us over there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just got some of the design team samples here, and you know, they're absolutely gorgeous. So you've got the die doing the work with the sort of the overall design, but then just being able to piece those little pieces back in. And like I say, if you've been with us all the way through the show, I demoed this at the top of the show and just showed with those release sheets, which we've got also on the show, which this is just the piece that was left of the piece I cut off. It's a tacky piece of card that you actually cut into, but it holds all those pieces. So for instance, with this one, we will have cut it in several different colours, and then you can decide which bits you want to pop where, and just need a little bit of glue inside just to adhere them and stick them back in. But just stunning results. We've got the one with the little honeybees on there and those gorgeous daisy type flowers. So again, lovely. All the little pieces just being put in. It's entirely up to you what colour you cut the background, whether you do it in black for a striking outline, white, a coloured card, it can be a mirror card, and then put the pieces back in. That's that beautiful floral one there. Absolutely gorgeous. So again, whether you want to pop them portrait or landscape, you've got the sort of option. And then again, just done in those pastel colours with all the little flowers there in different colours. Really pretty designs there, and so simple with that hold and release sheet. This is a must. If you want to have a go at the paper piecing, then pop at least one of these. Bearing in mind again that this is a consumable, so it's not designed for repeated use. You will use a piece each time you cut. So I think there are 10 sheets in the pack, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it may be that you need more than one. If it's something that you know you're going to do a lot of, actually get more than one of these. And then just finally, again, you know, keeping the fronts of your card fairly straightforward, but just look at that. Oh,
that's stunning.
Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. Done on the inside of that, and just had a scoreline put through the middle there. And again, just built in conjunction with the papers from that Beautiful, which go together perfectly with it, don't they?
That's
absolutely great. Gorgeous. But yeah, just done inside a little 6x4 card. I just think that's stunning. I really do.
That is lovely.
I love that.
Very nice. Brilliant. We do have a winner for your demo of the show. Right. Which one would you have said it was?
No, now I hate choosing my own cards. Sometimes there's an obvious winner.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with this one, number 2. I quite like the fairy, but I don't know whether that's the winner or not.
It's actually number 4.
Really?
Yeah,
Great,
yeah.
Even though we went with the rose gold. Thank you very much, guys.
Well
yeah,
done.
This particular design has already sold out on our website, but there are 5 other designs to choose from. We'll do exactly the same idea. I've got a couple of the others to demo later on this evening in the 6 o'clock show for you. But thank you very much, guys.
Very difficult choice to make because they're all lovely.
Thank you.
Very hard. Now, I will just show you these. These are the swash dies that we had. 60% of the stock has gone, so they may not make the show later on today. So please, if you do want to take these, please do pop them in your basket. The first one we've got is your fluttering buys. That's the one. I mean, actually, I always think of them as being used landscape, but you're absolutely right. Using them portrait would work really well as well. They're very, very pretty, very elegant designs. This is Delightful Daisy. Then we have your Dreamy Dragonfly, and as Jan was saying, being able to cut it out into two sort of layers, and then layering those those dragonfly wings over the top of each other, and it gives it another kind of dimension. This next one is your rose. This is your sketched rose. Then you have your beautiful bow, and then finally Harmonious Hearts, which I love that idea, Harmonious Hearts. Those £31.96, $39.80, platinum price is £25.57 or $31.84. Do join us later on. So at 2 p.m. we've got masterclass in paper piecing. I might even talk a little bit more about foundation paper piecing, so you can tell, even though we're not going to do. There is paper piecing, but it's a different type. You might be all paper piecing out today, and that's what you're going for. You might want to try a new idea by doing a little bit of sewing. It's actually really, really easy. Once I started doing that, I then went and got myself a pattern, and I'm making a 3-metre square quilt.
Oh wow!
Using that technique, so definitely worthwhile you doing. And then later on at 6 p.m. we've got launch party, and Leanne's going to be in later on, so that's going to be great. It gives me the opportunity for me to scoot out and go down to Sewing Street, where I'm going to be tomorrow. But you're going to have Totally Tiffany on there. We're going to have some more of these dies, if they happen to still be here, these dies. We're going to have loads and loads of different things for you to see. Do make sure that you message in later on if you've got any questions. Jan's here, she'll be able to, as you can tell, she's been able to answer all the questions that you've sent through. So thank you very much, Jan. It's been really informative, really interesting show.
It's been lovely. Is it our first time working together with you in that presenter role, Becky?
Yeah.
I think it is, isn't it? It's been lovely, yes.
It's different seeing you over there. No, it's quite strange, isn't it? But that's been a lovely show. And do join us at 2 p.m. or 9 a.m. or 6 a.m. depending on where you are for masterclass later on today.